What's up, Miles Nation? I'm kidding, although I love the Try Guys. Hey, Therese Hearts. So, first video I did was super awkward and super shy, and that's not who I am. Depression tried to make me quiet and insulated and sad, and I fought up against it by becoming the world's most extroverted extrovert. So I'm going to try to be my authentic version of myself. Not like this here and hi, I'm doing this thing, but like sub. So, today, we're covering one of my favorite things on the planet. And this is 10 things to never say to a Catholic who has a mental illness. Now, I kidnapped this off of a lovely website called epicpew.com, and I want to give major credit to epicpew.com for tackling this issue as well as other illness issues and suffering in the Catholic Church. I've just searched this link, which I found forever ago, but they also have one on 11 saints with mental illness, 16 things Catholics with a chronic illness will understand, and mad props to Epic Pew. So this specific article was written by Brooke Gregory, and I really hope I said that name right. So I'm going to go through these lists. I will also put the comment to all three of them, all the links, in the comment box below. All right, 10 things to never say to a Catholic with mental illness. Now, before I read these, I understand that most people come from a place of ignorance. Most of the time it is not willful, most of the time it is not cruel, most of the time it is not demeaning. But when you already feel like crap all the time, these feel incredibly degrading. So I'm going to help you educate yourself. The other caveat I want to put on this is that all of these have been said to me more times than I care to admit. I actually had an encounter with someone, unfortunately recently, a prayer minister at an event, who said that, I should go get my vitamin B levels checked. Okay, when your hands start turning blue, it's totally your vitamins and not your serotonin and your dopamine. Whatever, it's fine. Okay, so let's educate you. So, again, taken from Epic Pew, 10 things to never say to a Catholic with mental illness. Number 1, Saint, insert saint name here. The options they gave, Saint Therese, me, Elizabeth Ann Seton, Gemia, Magdalena, all suffered mental illness, and they turned out okay. Now, I'm sure these saints did. And I'm sure that I will also turn out okay. But telling me to read about someone else's life will not fix my own. Sure, it may give me some ideas, but I can't just be like, yeah, St. Therese did it, so now I'm just going to wallow in my sadness. No! Now, these were incredible women. St. Therese is my patron saint. Died of tuberculosis at like 24. Elizabeth Ann Seton really created education, especially in America. All of these women did incredible things. And yes, they struggled. But that doesn't mean that just because they turned out okay doesn't mean I will just by praying. 2, Jesus in Matthew's gospel said, do not be anxious. Of course I believe in this. Of course. There are so many things that we cannot control in this life, and I'm going to get more into this as the videos go on, that we spend so much of our life trying to control what only God can and what God has planned. And what God has planned for us is so much better than anything we could do ourselves. But telling an anxious person not to be anxious is like telling a fish not to swim. It's what we do. Now, there are ways that we are coping with it and ways that we work through it, but that does not mean you telling us to get over it or stop being anxious is going to help. No. But God told you to. No, that's not how it works. There are things wrong in my chemical levels, in my processing, that need some help from many sources, so that does not cut it alone. 3, Padre Pio said, pray, hope, and don't worry. Again, kind of correlates to number 2. Of course you need to pray. Of course you need to hope for the best. And of course there are things that are out of your control, and that's part of the process of depression and anxiety, is learning which things we can control, which things we can't, how to decipher the difference, and how to help ourselves. But that can't just be a blanket statement that you just say and then it's over. Oh, number 4. Number 4. You don't need a psychiatrist. You need a spiritual director, and I'm going to add /exorcist. Yeah, that will also come back to number 7. So, you wouldn't tell someone who has cancer that they don't need a doctor. They just need a spiritual director so they can pray the cancer away. If someone said that to you after you were diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, you would probably punch them in the face. Mental illness is an invisible disease. We go through not the exact same things as cancer, no one does, but it is just as much as a physical ailment and just as much of a physical issue as someone who is battling leukemia or, I don't know, insert illness here. I've got polycystic ovarian syndrome, throw that in there. It's a real important illness. And a lot of the misconception around mental illness and spirituality is that a lot of the times when we just feel crappy about ourselves, a lot of people say it's because we haven't accepted God's love. And that's 100% true. But there's another layer of that for Catholics with mental illness. Personal anecdote. So, I got into therapy when I was about 20 years old. And at that time, I really did not like God. We were not amigos. Like, I went to Mass every Sunday. I still prayed, but I was pissed. I was not pleased with the Lord because I felt he had taken certain things away from me. And why would he give me this horrible depression cross to bear? And like, why? So I went to therapy, and I remember people saying this to me, like, you just need a spiritual director. Like, it's fine. You don't need, like, someone to, like, process your feelings. Like, you can do that with the spiritual director, and it'll be more, like, holistic and, like, faith-focused. And I get that. Spiritual directors are, of course, very important. But priests are not trained in mental health issues. Most priests, the good ones, which there are many of them, will tell you, I'm going to refer you to somebody who can help you in a more specialized way. And then come back when you're sorting things out. In my case, I went to therapy for about 3 years, sophomore, junior, and then a little bit of senior year of college. But around my senior year, after I had gone through cognitive behavioral theory, when we had figured out my medication routine, when I had processed some of my body issues and eating disorder, and stopped myself from spiraling, then I was able to go to a spiritual director, and I had a really great one my senior year of college. You wouldn't tell a kid to multiply before they can add. That's kind of, at least in my experience, what the psychiatrist does before the spiritual director. I advocate for having both for people with mental illness. I advocate for everyone having a spiritual director. I also advocate for everyone going to a therapist or a psychiatrist, at least at some point in their life, because life's a little messy. And God gave us medical professionals for a reason. So that's number 4. Number 5, just give it to God. Let's have a conversation. So I said in this last bullet point 4, that I was really pissed at God for giving me this disease. So how can I give to God something that I'm pissed about? And this whole idea of giving it to God means like, oh, it's just a temporary challenge. It's fine. And that does a lot of harm to people who have chronic mental illness. You think, I'll just get over that. I'll be fine. It's just a phase. I'll cope. I went through probably all of high school, all years of high school, first year of college, just thinking like I was going through an angsty teen phase and you were just sad and you just got dumped, like everything's fine. And I gave it to God and assumed that was the problem. Meanwhile, my freshman year, I'm having PTSD flashbacks and all of this other crazy crap and nightmares. And I gave it to God for years, but it is different because there are things in mental illness that you can't control. You can control getting help. You can control getting on meds. And of course, you have to give your suffering up to God, but you can't just be like, take all the symptoms and then not help yourself. No, that's just not, no. Number 6, don't worry, God will heal you. The number of times I've prayed to God to take away my depression and my anxiety, like permanently, not just get me through a situation or help me out, are exorbitant. all the freaking time. And the thing about God's healing is just because you ask for it doesn't mean you're going to get it. God's healing is a gift, and He's only going to give it to you if He feels as though it will help your plan. For me, I'm now starting to come to terms with, 6 years of diagnosed mental illness, probably about 10 undiagnosed, that God isn't going to fully heal me, take me away from all of this. I'm meant to use this experience to help others understand and help people feel like they're not alone. For example, I'm a teacher and a youth minister, and they kind of know me as the messed up one mentally, but because of that, the kids approach me about a lot of stuff. In youth ministry, I've got kids who are like, Mrs. Hartz, I think I have depression. What do I do? I've got kids at school who've got some really rough family circumstances. And I understand now why God gave me this. It isn't because He wants me to suffer. It's because He wants me to make something out of it. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for everybody. That's the case for me. There are other reasons God may have allowed this to happen. He didn't force it on you, but maybe He wants you to learn. Maybe He wants you to process. Maybe He wants you to help your family. My family is really bad at communication. And through therapy and understanding my mental illness, I've become a lot more emotionally aware and a lot better at communicating and finding ways to make conversation happen. And I think that's honestly helped my family. So maybe God is using this to make you better. Number 7. I lied about number 4. Number 7's my favorite. Your symptoms sound like demonic possession. Wow. Okay. Where do we start? So, the devil is real. Totally works within things that we're already struggling with. If you have an alcohol addiction, the devil is going to try to get in through there. Any weakness the devil sees, he will use it. That doesn't mean you're possessed. He's just seeing where you falter. Now, a lot of the times people with depression and anxiety just feel lonely and worthless. And yes, in mentally stable people, that can be the devil speaking in through influences. But imagine you just kind of feel that way a little bit. Like on the surface. I'm not diminishing those people's pain. But imagine the pain of that. How do I phrase this? Is like a 2nd-degree burn. It's serious. It needs to be treated. And of course you need to talk to your friends, talk to God about it. But if you already have depression, that's like putting more burn onto your burn to like a 3rd or 4th degree burn. I don't know if 4th degree burn exists, but we're going to say it does. It's already so much harder. The hole is so much lower to dig out, to try to fight your way out of, that it's impossible. Also, demonic possession is a lot more complicated. Typically, when someone is possessed, they think someone's possessed, they make you go through mental health protocol. It doesn't mean because you feel this way or you have this disorder does not mean the devil is possessing you. No. Go talk to some exorcists. Number 8. It's so beautiful that you can unite yourself to the cross of Christ. He felt abandoned by God too. Of course, uniting suffering is always good. But let's say you've got a spear thrown in your side. You're not just going to be like, hey, Therese, I see you got a spear. That's really nice that you can unite that spear to the cross of Christ. No! You go get the spear removed! Just basic science 101. Like, just don't pull it out yourself. That's how Steve Irwin died. Don't be Steve Irwin. Rest in peace. You, yes, have to make this struggle worth it. But this isn't seen as something that, oh, you're so lucky. That's what it sounds to someone with mental illness. Like, wow, I wish I could suffer to Christ like you. Because anyone with depression would be like, you want to take it? You want to see how all my internal struggle and my relationships get affected by this? I'm going to have my husband come in on one of these relatively soon. And I want him to talk about how mental health and my depression and anxiety have affected our relationship and as a marriage, of how that is supposed to be a union of Father and the two of us, so Trinity, but how he married not only me, but my mental illness. I'm going to talk a lot about that one as well. But just because we can unite it doesn't mean that it's a blessing. And a lot of the times, even though you don't mean it that way, people with depression can hear that as like, you suck. Like, how dare you make me feel this way? So there you go. Number 9, you need to just get right with God. You don't think I prayed? Now, I said I was pissed at God for years when I was trying to figure this all out. And did I need to get right with God? Yes, but I also needed to get right with the therapist and some drugs. Like, number 10, be strong. God is testing you. It's a really, again, see how these are all nuanced? All these people saying these things mean well. But until you understand that I have trouble visiting my high school because of things that happened there. And it sucks because my sister's a senior and I still have teachers and mentors that I look up to who work there, and it gives me a lot of anxiety to go when I have flashbacks. Until you understand that everything will be going fine on your trip to Michigan, but because one wrong turn is made, you spiral down saying you're going to be lost and you immediately feel unsafe. You won't understand until your boyfriend makes a joke about dumping you and you have a full-blown 3-hour panic attack to the point where you miss mass because you literally can't get up. You won't understand until you hide in your basement for days because seeing people's too hard and showering's difficult and why do I have to brush my teeth? I'm not going anywhere. To live in that and understand that. Again, all these people are so well-intending and they just want to help. I truly believe that. But there's so much ignorance and lack of understanding when it comes to this issue and how it affects not only the person, but the person's spirituality. The spirituality of someone with mental illness is going to be so different than someone who doesn't have it. And that's okay. We all have our own journeys and crosses to bear. That being said, just because your cross looks different than someone else's doesn't mean yours is better or worse. That's why I ask you. 1, never say any of these things to any of your Catholic friends who have depression and anxiety. 2, talk to them. Listen. Honestly, most times, it's really hard for people with depression to come out and explain exactly how they're feeling. I saw a really good cartoon the other day, and I think it sums it up perfectly, especially for depression, where the person's just sad, cuddled in a blanket, and somebody comes up and they're like, "You want to talk about it?" The depressed person in the blanket says no. And without a doubt, without a second thought, the other person, asking the friend, hops under the blanket and is like, "Is this okay?" Yeah. We just need someone to be there in the struggle. We just need someone to know that, okay, today's not a good day. You're going to need to be a little nicer. Now, that doesn't mean you treat us with bubble wrap, but like a little compassion and understanding and listening. Hearing your friends talk about their depression and anxiety is going to get annoying. It just is. It's going to be, I wish you feel better, and a lot of you feeling like you're saying the same cliches over and over and over again. But they just need to know you're there. And honestly, you don't even need to respond. As long as you're there listening and at the end of it you say, "I don't understand fully, but I love you and I empathize for you and I'm going to be here." That's all we want at the end of the day. And to pray for us. Pray for anybody, mental illness or not. We just need someone to be there. So, 10 things to say to a Catholic with mental illness will be coming up next. I like that idea. Haven't written it yet. But in the meantime, this is Therese from Trust in the Chaos. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Trust in the Chaos and follow right here and pass along video to your friends.